Good evening and welcome to NBC's DFS and betting Q&A. It's Monday night, so that means we have primetime football, the final night of our fantasy football matchups as well. This week feature 11 to 12 games, depending on where you shop, that have favorites of 4 or less. Tonight, we have another one to help you guys with your lineups, Rams and Niners. We got Lawrence Jackson, a.k.a. Lord Don't Lose. We got Kyle Dvorchak, a.k.a. the tight end king. We got Vaughn Dalzell, a.k.a. V-Money, myself. So, guys, how we feeling? What's your reactions from week 4? And, what happened today? Anything interesting?
The big unfortunate disappointment was more injuries. They've all seemed to come with the running back position. So the 0RB sickos out there are really having a great time at everyone else's expense. But we lost Javonte on Sunday. Jonathan Taylor looks like he could play. That seems very up in the air. But another running back, I'd call it both underperforming and now hurt. So it's been a running back apocalypse, much to the excitement of the sicko 0RB people.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. It was crazy, man. I was actually locked into that Giants and Bears game, and it was just
great game.
It was 8 to 10 players that got hurt in that game alone, including Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor, the backup quarterback. So that was crazy. Just like, hey, Saquon, get in here and run a Wildcat. We're like, okay, well, don't let Saquon get hurt too now. But a lot of injuries. We had a good game between the two big dogs, Lamar and Josh Allen. That came down to the wire. That was a good game. Love to see Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady all the time too. That was a solid game. Although the Bucs lost, their offense got back on track once they got their receivers back. But
that was good to see. That's what we needed to see, man. The Bucs are playing like straight trash for 3 weeks. It was unwatchable. They weren't even playing like analytically sound football. It used to be they were like, dude, we have Tom Brady and all these awesome receivers. Let's throw it 40 times a game, bro. Yeah. And then they lost all of them. And they're like, let's just pound Leonard Fournette for 2 yards a carry. And they finally, maybe it's because the Chiefs pushed them, but they finally got back to playing fun, let Tom Brady air it out football. And please, God, never go back to that garbage we saw through 3 weeks.
I mean, Leonard Fournette, he ran for 127 week 1, which was
how many points they put up? I feel like that was like 16 versus the Cowboys.
A long time ago.
I'd be, if I'm not mistaken, he's inside the top 10. Well, he won't be after this week because he only ran the ball 3 times. But I mean,
let Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to retire in 4 months. Let him throw 40 times a game.
Yeah. But on the other side, Patrick Mahomes,
incredible.
They putting up 41 points. It's almost like they never got spanked in that stadium a couple years ago, man. It was like, and this is with no Tyreek Hill. So, but yeah, all of that, we had some good quarterback matchups in there. Yeah. So that was good to see.
Yeah, it was a great week for myself. I definitely betting, fantasy, everything. I did lose on that last drive last night. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I couldn't let him get more than 9 yards, and he got 14 on the Chiefs' last drive. So I did take 1 L this week, but the NBC team, undefeated once again in the Circa Vegas contest.
Nice.
We are hot, 13-2 in our last 15. But Lawrence, I got a question specifically for you. What would it take? Or if I get my medical degree from Twitter, can I tweet about Tua? Because I saw your tweet and I felt like I was one of the people you definitely were coming at.
Well, if that was you saying that, then yes, I was. But don't feel alone because everybody. Well, this is the interesting thing about that. Tua came back in the game week 3 on a Sunday, right? It looked crazy. Let's now that we see it, we obviously know he shouldn't have came back in week 3. But from Monday to Thursday, I didn't hear a peep out of anybody. Nobody was talking about it. Nobody. It was kind of like we just kind of moved on from it. It was like, oh, now we get the showdown, Tua versus Burrow, the 2 quarterbacks from the 2020 draft class. So nobody was talking about it from Monday to Thursday. Now, we get to Thursday, and I get it. We all feel horrible for Tua, because that looked scary, to be quite honest with you. And the fact that Amazon kept showing it was ridiculous. And somebody had to get gone from that situation, and somebody has been. But when Tua got hurt, all of a sudden, I don't know what's going on. Like, people are all this outrage going on, and he shouldn't have been in. So why didn't you say that on Wednesday? Why didn't you inform us on Tuesday? So trust me, you are far from the only one. It's all I saw on Friday morning from 12 hours ago on the feed.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people like myself, when we saw him get hurt the first time around the previous game, it's more of like, is he okay? It looks like it's concussion. They say it's not. And then when you see him get hurt again, then it's like, now we want to be vocal about it. Because myself, I'm not going to complain about every single injury, but even J.J. Watt, for example, did you guys see his tweet?
Yeah, there's nobody talking about that one.
That's what I mean. I was going to tweet that too, but I was like, I don't want to be the guy now just like advocating for this, or like, this is all I tweet about, this or gambling. But at the same time, it's like,
been out there.
But these guys, like, bro, it's definitely deeper than that. We got a
question right here from Alex, and this is my point right here. The question from Alex is, how long is Tua out for, do you think? That's the thing. We don't know. We shouldn't act like we know, right? Yeah. I saw a tweet today about Javonte Williams. Some Denver Bronco beat reporter or something was like, could be a bone bruise. But you can't rule out an ACL, as if that's the least of his worries.
Could be 1 week, could be 10 months,
Yeah, like, just wait and see till the people who that's their job to do that,
Yeah, the only thing you could say for Tua is they didn't put him on IR, so you'd think less than 4 weeks. But dude, concussions are weird. Like, I've known people who had really bad concussions. Like, sometimes you turn around quickly and that's it. And sometimes if you layer two of them together, like it looks like Tua did, like, could end your season. Like, I've known people who just had to stop playing sports because they got concussions. So like, this one is like, I have no guess. There's truly no way to know.
Yeah, if Jordan Reed a couple seasons ago missed the whole season from a concussion he suffered in preseason. He did come back and, technically play. He played on the 49ers a couple of games. But then we saw Teddy Bridgewater, who I would say recently, that's the second worst concussion I've seen recently after Tua's. Last year, he got cold cocked out there. And he was gone for 3 games or so. It took him a while to get back. So, yeah, these things, Alex, my man, I don't know. All I know is he out for week 5, because that's what they told us.
Yeah, I would expect him to be out for at least a couple weeks. I mean, I've known, like I said, like Kyle said, I've known a couple people with concussions too that have definitely sat it out after a couple. I had one minor one myself, but I got hit by a 180-pound D3 linebacker. Definitely not the same what Tua has been going through the past couple weeks, past years. So yeah, I would say he should be rested up and feeling better. We got a comment here saying that the team seems optimistic it's not serious, but the follow up is, but they probably have to.
Yeah, you can't be like, whoa, we really messed this one up, guys.
If Tua was out for 5 weeks, it don't matter how long he out. When he come back, they're going to catch hell, the Dolphins. They're going to catch hell. It don't matter how. Could you imagine him miss 2 games and then come back? It's too soon.
I know. They need to keep him out longer for PR purposes, if anything.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting how that goes, definitely.
For sure. And tonight, we definitely got a game that's going to have a lot of hard hits, in my opinion. A little divisional matchup, Rams-Niners. We saw the look-ahead total at 48.5. It's dropped down to 42.5. So they're not expecting many points. Cooper Kupp's the only guy that has minus 110 or better odds on any book. Everyone else is plus 100 to score a touchdown or better tonight. So definitely going to be a low-scoring contest. Is looking like we got some comments. Matt Miller says Debo anytime touchdown, over on his rushing, and the Rams spread. Quick little win tonight. What do you guys think about the game in general? Debo Samuel definitely is probably my long shot sprinkle tonight. I think he's going to have a good night.
Yeah, I don't hate Debo. I actually liked his usage last week where he saw, again, it was like 16% of his snaps at running back. Because to me, if you want him to score, like that's the ideal scenario for him, is that he gets some shots at running back, a few cracks at the long run, but he's not playing the RB2 role. Because when he plays the RB2 role, he doesn't get, and this is especially from a fantasy perspective, but I think it applies to just a first time, anytime first time touchdown perspective too, is that you want him to go out and be able to get 10 targets and 4 carries. You don't want him to get 8 carries. Then he's just JD McKissick. And we're not betting on JD McKissick anytime touchdowns. You want him to be an alpha wide receiver 1 who just sprinkles in a few carries, sort of like Tyreek Hill was early in his career. So to me, the role actually looks pretty good from a fantasy perspective because they're not cutting a ton of his receiving work out, despite like understandably kind of needing some running back help.
Yeah, and I'll say too, I think with Trent Williams being out here, the Niners aren't going to be able to just run the ball as much as they want to up the middle with Wilson. So they're definitely going to be creative and get Debo the ball and some unique ways. I definitely think Debo Ayuk could have some nice usage tonight. One of the biggest prop plays is Jimmy G's under passing yards. I feel like they're going to have to pass a lot more than they're going to want to tonight. But that's also been Jimmy G's thing here. So before we move on from Debo, Lawrence, what do you think? Could you get down with a little touchdown action tonight? We do got to run it back. We hit a plus 900 same game parlay last time. So, I mean, we got to run it back today.
This is an interesting game. You brought an interesting point that I noticed earlier to myself, that Cooper Kupp was the only guy with minus money on that to score a touchdown. So that makes it interesting. And the fact that the Niners are favored, which now looks like a 1.5. Favored by 1.5. So it's definitely scary season out here for the touchdowns, especially when you looking at Debo and a player like Debo that could get you on the plus side. So I'm not going to take Debo here just because, and I feel like this is a tough game, man. It's just people take it. You said people taking an under on Jimmy, but that's because that's like what you're supposed to do. You always take the under on Jimmy G, right? But you always take the over on guys like Justin Herbert, Josh Allen. You always say that, but then you got guys like Jimmy G, and I ain't gonna say Mitchell Trubisky. He ain't even a starter no more. But you got guys like Mac Jones. Mac Jones and Jimmy G are guys you take the unders no matter what. But Jimmy G every once in a while could give you a nice little 285-yard game. I don't know if it's gonna be tonight, but I'm expecting some defense.
Jimmy G is 5-1 to the over on his passing yards prop against the Rams in the regular season. So I definitely, like that. And if you look at what happened to the Rams, I got a call earlier from another player, prop capper, but he likes Jimmy G's over 28.5 passing attempts tonight. 18 out of the last 20 teams against the Rams have hit this. Jimmy G and Trey Lance combination did not because they split time. And then Marcus Mariota, who had 26 or 27, he runs. So definitely think Jimmy G is going to be active tonight. I'm in a similar boat as our guy, Val's the GOAT, who's been in here repeatedly every episode. We appreciate you. George Kittle and San Francisco defense up 8.5.
Not great. I mean,
is this PPR?
Even if not, man, like San Francisco defense,
the defense
get that low. I actually
get that.
I mean,
because you got like, I would rather bet on
interception.
I would rather bet on a Stafford interception than Jimmy G's under for passing yards. I feel more confident in getting a Stafford interception than Jimmy G throwing under, 224 or something like that?
Yeah.
I feel more. So if you get that out of Stafford, that could go either way. You get the defensive touchdown, you're done.
This is a good follow-up comment from Chow.
It don't matter what
Val's always doomed coming into Monday nights. It does feel like every night Val's like, guys, what are the odds Zeke gets 30? Slim. They're slim. Yeah, the San Francisco defense is really what kills me for it, because if it was one or the other, I'd feel okay. I feel like you have a shot, right? But we've seen that this Rams team is not the same as they were last year. The lack of receiving depth has hurt them. The lack of offensive line talent. They were ranked number 1 last year in PFF pass blocking grade. entering this week, I think they're like number 22, right? And Joe Noteboom just isn't getting the job done. I think he ranks first among tackles and QB hits allowed. He's like top 10 in pressures allowed. So I actually like both. I couldn't find a ton of places to bet this, so I wish I could have line shot more. But Nick Bosa to get over a quarter of a sack, giving him that half sack credit potential there at like minus 180. He's got, I think, 4 sacks already on the year, and Noteboom not really playing great this year. And Stafford, for the same reason, just under pressure. He's already thrown 5 picks. I also like the Stafford getting 1 interception. So to me, we're kind of on the same wavelength. Betting on the Stafford, not that he's going to get dusted, right? But he's going to make mistakes. And that's what we've seen from him this year, right? Is that without the line help, without the receiver help, it's going to be more mistake prone. It's not they can't have a top flight offense, but there will be games where he just goes out and duds it up. And this feels like it could be one of them.
Yeah, last game was Stafford's first game. He did not throw an interception this season. Also, the first game he did not throw a touchdown. Did not do much of anything against the Cardinals except be on cruise control in that game. So
you can do that.
Yeah,
with the Cardinals.
Yeah, it won't be that same way around this time. So yeah, I like that a lot. I think Jimmy G is possibly going to be in our same game parlay tonight. Maybe we can get an interception prop in there. That'd be a fun way to do it. How do you guys see about George Kittle's production going forward? I actually am facing George Kittle too. That was going to be one of my questions to you guys tonight because I'm kind of scared. This is my matchup. I had to choose between playing Jeff Wilson or Cam Akers, and I'm down by 4 to George Kittle. So what do you guys think of George Kittle tonight, whether he's a tight end 1 or the tight end you play in DFS tonight? And what do you guys think about him moving forward with Jimmy G?
Well, with Jimmy G, the good thing about having Jimmy G back in there is that when George Kittle has done his best work, it's with Jimmy G at quarterback. We didn't really know. The big question was coming into this season was, will the 49ers weapons still be able to produce with a new quarterback who's mobile and could run the football? Now that you got Jimmy G back in there, yeah, that's his guy. That's who, Jimmy G is the quarterback who made these dudes the Yak Bros. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, as soon as he was active last week, we all put him inside our top 5 for the week. As far he didn't end up there, but it's gonna be like that sometimes. But I feel good about him going forward. Definitely better than Kyle Pitts right now. So
don't get me started. I'm down bad.
But as far as Jeff Wilson and Cam Akers, Jeff Wilson, he's looked good so far. It's more of the lead back. Cam Akers is getting better and better every week, and I love me some Cam Akers, but we got to keep it 100. That's a 50-50 committee right now, and though he's getting better each week, Jeff Wilson looking good. He looking explosive, and they're gonna have Tevin Coleman getting some carries tonight. So that should give you a little bit more.
Tells you the state of the backfield.
Yeah, that should give you a little more confidence. And he's primarily there because he's known Kyle Shanahan for 30 years. You know what I'm saying? So that should give you a little more confidence in Jeff Wilson.
That's some sneaky touchdown potential I hear tonight. We're talking Latavius Murray status.
Oh, I don't want to hear this. Look, you should have never thought about starting Latavius Murray. He was a legit backup, and the only reason he scored is because Mark Ingram went out with some they never even disclosed what the injury was, and Pierce ended up boat racing him anyways.
But here's the thing, though: if I would have started Latavius Murray over James Robinson, I would have won that league, but I didn't. So now I hate James Robinson, Lawrence. So I hope you're happy about it.
No, these are the bad times. You got to make it through a tough week. It was the Eagles. They running through everybody. They'll be back. He'll be back.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm still gonna believe in him. Dameon Pierce, I definitely wasn't feeling it until he broke off that 70 whatever yard run. Then I was like, all right, this could be okay moving forward here. But Rams, Niners. What do you guys think about them, or should you go with a streaming schedule here, according to whoever you can pick up? I'm a streaming schedule guy.
Yeah, I'm almost always streaming. 1 week the Rams are going to play, even though Kyler Murray's been bad this year, they're going to be playing, them or Geno Smith, frankly. You'll be like, oh, I should start him versus Geno Smith. And then Geno Smith goes out and leads the league in completion rate, and he throws 2 touchdowns and runs 1 in. Whereas you can always find the bad defense playing Baker Mayfield. The bad defense playing Baker Mayfield is going to be better than the good defense playing even a mid-tier quarterback like Geno Smith. 9 times out of 10. So I'll always just look to pick up. Yeah, I'll just pick up like Falcons play, whenever the Falcons play Carolina. I don't care. I couldn't name you more than like 3 players on the Falcons defense. Don't care. They play Baker Mayfield.
Hey, hold on. Hey, man, come on, man. Don't disrespect Grady Jarrett like that. That's
Grady Jarrett.
Wrong team. Yeah, Grady.
Is it AJ Terrell,
the first place Atlanta Falcons tied with the Bucks right now?
Oh my god.
Not for long. But I will say our prediction though, our top streaming defense last week was the Giants. We said they got a nice little 19 points against Justin Fields.
Any terrible defense that plays Justin Fields is going to be fine. Let alone maybe you can find a decent defense like the Giants, because anytime the Giants play a good team, no one's going to play them. So if they get cut, then they get to play Justin Fields. Love it. The Packers defense, right? Have a bad matchup one week, they get cut, then they get to play. Turns out they get to play Bailey Zappi. That's the type of defense you want to pick up.
Yeah, definitely look at weather too when it comes to these games or travel schedules. Like I had the Eagles as well, because I love that the fact it was going to be a rainy game along with the Giants game, and then Jaguars traveling from west to east after playing multiple games like that. So another one here. What's the value on Jimmy G's goal line touchdown tonight? Is that something you guys are buying into? We passing on that one?
I'm good on that. I'd rather go for that plus money anywhere. I'll take an alternate rushing total from like Jeff Wilson or something that got the same odds as Jimmy G sneaking in one.
What do you think about Rohan? Really wants to know here. He's got one play tonight to win this league. Wilson or Ayuk?
To me, it's Jeff Wilson. Like it's a team that has been historically good at running the football. They've been comfortable giving him work at the goal line. And as Lauren said, like the fact that they called up Tevin Coleman is not like, oh, there's competition in the backfield. Tevin Coleman. It tells you the state of their backups. It is not good. So I will take Jeff Wilson here.
Yeah, same.
Lawrence, you in agreement?
Yeah, same.
Yeah. I'm kind of with Matt here. I like the little upside of Brandon Ayuk, but
you guys are like Jimmy Garoppolo's third receiver to get the job done.
Ayuk has seen 8 targets in the past 2 games where Jimmy G has started the full game. You can hang your hat on that there. There's always Ayuk always got a chance to have a good game, but probability wise, I would just take Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, definitely more touchdown upside there. I think I saw a stat earlier before the season started about Trey Lance and Jimmy G, and how Trey Lance was basically Ayuk's guy because they had the deep connection going, and Jimmy G is not a deep passer. To say Val's here said he's trying to work out, or he's trying to see who wins this matchup. We got Thielen, Damon Pierce, AJ Brown, Breece Hall to trade. Actually,
I'm windmill dunking the AJ Brown side.
Like AJ Brown. Yeah.
AJ Brown, runs laps around Adam Thielen. Whereas Breece Hall, his role actually looked really strong last week. He completely dominated the backfield carries, like 15-9 or something like that, and also got all the backfield targets. I mean, Damian Pierce probably has a slightly larger role, but it's on an offense that's just as bad as the Jets. There's no splitting hairs between those two. So you're getting maybe a few more carries, maybe a target or 2 more, but even that seems optimistic over Breece Hall. Those 2 guys are not that far from a wash to me. Sure, I take Damian Pierce if you really make me choose, but it's not the same as the difference between AJ Brown and Adam Thielen. It's not even close.
Hey, Damian Pierce did in last week. I was saying, hey, try to trade this dude. He got 6 targets, 6 catches, but
he ran more routes than Rex Burkhead too
for 8 yards. However, Rex Burkhead,
he only got 8 yards, so there is that.
Yeah. Rex Burkhead, on the other hand, 5 receptions for 39 yards.
Got in the end zone too.
Yeah, so I'm not even gonna bring up if you take away that 75-yard. Nah, it happened. It happened because he hit that extra gear on him, and J.C. Jackson couldn't catch him. The corner could not catch him. But anywho.
He probably didn't want to either. But I love this question here from Nathan. This is a great one because Alvin Kamara now is definitely a hot topic for trades. Would you get rid of him? And would you take this one?
If he'd have played this game, he'd have went off. You seen what Latavius Murray did, and they was running all over the Vikings defense. I'm mad he missed this game, but Nathan, whoever's trying to trade and get Kamara from you, He know that. So he trying to get because you're
this
talking
is
about
Khalil Herbert.
Yes,
Khalil Herbert.
We have been informed that this is Khalil Herbert.
Nah, man, nah. Keep Kamara, dog.
Me too. I mean, just Herbert will only have value for a week or two more. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Khalil Herbert is actually really good, but if the team thought he was that good, they just play him over David Montgomery, but they don't. They'll be playing David Montgomery when Montgomery is back. And his injury isn't long term. Like, I don't know if he plays this week or not, but he's back within a week or two. So Herbert becomes a non-factor in this equation, or just the typical handcuff in this equation within a week or two. So I keep the Kamara and Williams side, even though like St. Brown's the best player in this group. The Herbert fact of it makes me really not want that side.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could see why you would want this trade for sure with Brown. Like he's been awesome this season, and
is Mike Williams this guy's wide receiver one? Then we might have an issue here.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Computer enthusiast saying lamb chops for dinner tonight. What do you boys have for dinner tonight?
I think I'll have curry tonight.
Yeah,
leftovers though.
We're choosing between chicken pizza over here.
Chicken pizza?
Chicken or pizza. We're not doing the combo.
I was like, what is that? Hey, your boy had a little salmon over here.
Oh, nice.
Little salmon, little spinach and tomatoes.
Look at you. Probably hit the gym today too, Lawrence. Lord don't lose.
I did. It was my first time in 2 weeks though, because I had my back messed up, man. Getting old up here, boys. But hey, I'm back in that thing today. So, when you hit the gym, you be like, now I gotta eat good, right? You gotta eat healthy now.
It's all or nothing. You're either drinking beer on the couch, you're like gym's for another week, or when you come back from the gym, you're like, I'm getting my life together now.
Eating strawberry shortcakes.
I love it. Yeah, I need the motivation too. I might get in the gym. Probably not tonight. Maybe tomorrow, Lawrence. I'm not as committed to you, but Tyler Algier is definitely a good guy here. I know you're the Falcons fan, so you probably have a good opinion on him and his role moving forward here with Cordell Patterson to compete with.
Yeah, so the thing about this is you would expect – so Mike Boone and Melvin Gordon probably split these touches here starting out, which is interesting because if Melvin Gordon didn't fumble the ball so much, we might be looking at Melvin Gordon running back one season again, and I'm talking about
I kind of think we are.
Yeah, like I'm talking about like 65, 70% split between him and Boone. Because let's be real, Melvin Gordon is the better running back. He just fumbling the ball and losing fumbles. But there's a reason he was there and was splitting with Javonte Williams, And like Kyle said, I think we just might be looking at that. Tyler Algier, he'll split too, and Cordell Patterson will come back. It'll be a while, 4 games. But so I probably would lean Tyler Algier.
Me too.
I like his now Marcus Mariota's that whole offense is weird, man. But Algier he's consistently looked good whenever he's got an opportunity, even in week 3, 10 carries, 41 yards. Once Marcus Mariota threw that interception yesterday, Arthur Smith said, to hell with throwing the ball. I'm not throwing it anymore. I'm running Algier and now Caleb Huntley. But Caleb Huntley is more like a, wham, bam, thank you, man type of running back. He in there trying to stick it to you. You know what I'm saying? Algier is more of a complete back, got that receiving upside. So I will go with him over Mike Boone. Boone is worth, I don't know, to me, what do you think, Kyle? 5 to 7% of your bidding money. That's about it.
I'm down for 15 or 20% because now he has massive contingent value that, imagine in a world where Melvin Gordon gets hurt, I could not name another running back on that roster. He will probably soak up a ton of touches, and maybe he has some value up until then. I kind of agree, though. I do think we're kind of headed towards Melvin Gordon RB1 season. So, yeah, maybe I'll kind of cap that at 15%, 10 or 15 fab, frankly.
It'll be interesting.
Whereas Algier will have a role over the next 4 weeks while CPAT is out. And then CPAT is a 31-year-old, basically a thick wide receiver. There is no reason for him to be getting 20 touches a game. When he comes back.
No, it is a reason, though. It is a reason. Sorry. because he like the only player they use that's good.
Maybe Algier's the next guy, though. Maybe Algier, they actually get him some touches and he's good. Whenever CPAT comes back, like, it just wouldn't make sense to give him 20 touches a game again. Let him be the most efficient version of himself on a dozen or 15 touches a game. Maybe that gives room for Algier, even once CPAT is back, to be like low-end flex worthy.
Yeah. No, I like all that. I was reading this question here before we get back to the Monday Night Football game. Don't know how much Dynasty football you guys play. I'm sure you play your handful itself. But this question here, you have the one guy that I definitely love, Rachaad White. I have him on my Dynasty team. I also have Ramondre Stevenson. Amir Abdul is another guy. Abdullah I have is another guy. But I would say the one guy you're missing that's probably available is Jaylen Warren, running back for the Steelers. Najee Harris, I don't know if he's going to play a full season. Equally healthy. I don't know what your guys' opinion on that is, but Jaylen Warren's a guy, can run, can catch, can do it all. Kenny Pickett's at quarterback now, so the Steelers are definitely going to be experimenting. So I could see Harris getting shut down. But other than that, though, I do like the running backs he has here in Dynasty, especially with Brian Robinson coming back at some point.
I'm reading this question here.
He's looking to trade Devontae, I assume that's Kenneth Walker, and Darnell Mooney.
I'm thinking, is it Devontae Walker? I'm sorry, is it Devontae Smith?
We're missing a comma. There's the problem. We're missing a few commas.
Maybe he means Trayvon Walker, the first overall pick.
If it's an IDP league, I'm out. I'm out.
God. That's a deep. I do play with one defensive player league, but playing like a whole lineup, it's too much.
Yeah, you hate those leagues? Those IDP leagues. I have played in a few, and I'm not any good in those.
You just gotta go get TJ Watt, my guy.
Let me just take the most popular defensive player,
Kenneth Walker.
So to me, for this one, I'm probably sticking with Devonta and Mooney and even Walker, frankly, because I think you're looking at like really long-term assets for those players, especially like with Devonta, the way the Eagles offense is playing. Like, sure, maybe he's not incredibly consistent. Dude, I don't care if he's got 150 and a touchdown or two in his range. I want to be holding on to him for as long as he's playing alongside Jalen Hurts. And it looks like that's going to be a while. So I want to be holding on to him. I want to be holding on to a really good prospect in a backfield that Rashad Penny is 1 year away again from free agency. And the team didn't give him that much money to stay back. They let him hit free agency, try it out. No one gave him a real big offer. So these players have really good long-term outlooks, whereas I don't see any universe in which Khalil Herbert in the next year or two is dominating the carries, dominating the backfield. Melvin Gordon, the same thing. For the next 3 months, sure. But a year, two after that, he's the same thing. The team didn't try that hard to bring him back. The team doesn't want him that badly. So Brian Robinson's the only player on the other side that's like a long-term outlook type of player. And I'm just not trying to like buy high on Herbert, buy high on Gordon.
I'll ask you guys this one too, because he was impressive last night. We talked about them. Isaiah Pacheco. Where is he on the Dynasty rankings for you guys? Are you starting to believe in him more now that he was worked into the fold last night and actually looked like he gave CH some competition at some points?
He got a role. It's a committee. He got a role. That's what I see it as right now. As long as he returning kickoffs, then they don't really think he that dude.
That's an easy way to put it.
But a role nonetheless in a committee on a top offensive football. That's the hardest running guy out here going, which is, that's wild. It makes a little bit too much move sometimes, but it's okay. He's still a young back. And what I noticed about that particular Dynasty question is that dude, what was his name? Chad or
Chad.
Chow. He loved the name Walker because he had Ramondre Walker, Devontae Walker. He had all the Walkers on there. I was just like, that's cool. Ramondre Walker. Imagine that.
Let's get down to the game tonight. Give out some sits, some player props, some game picks overall. Kyle, I choose you. You get to go first. Where you want to go? Where you want to start?
Well, I talked about this earlier, but we can throw in the official plays now. Matthew Stafford over half an interception. He's got 5 interceptions this year. And it's not surprising when the downgrade from like having Robert Woods for half the year, then getting to jump right into Odell Beckham, and then the Cooper Kupp breakout to now Ben Skowronek and Allen Robinson, who Look, I was in on Allen Robinson too. If you showed up for the very first show of this year, we were all in on Allen Robinson, but he's just not playing well this year. He can't get open. He's not creating separation. Dude, he might be dust. And that's really combined with the offensive line. Not even struggles. They're not terrible. They're just not the elite offensive line they've been in years past. Yeah, I mean, they're not great. Like, they're not terrible, but it's enough to make a big difference for a player like Stafford, who isn't eluding pressure with his legs by any means. So to me, getting the over 0.5 interceptions when we should see consistent pressure on him, we should see really just one receiver of note for the opposing defense to take away. And he's already got 5 on the year. I like over 1.5 or a half interception for this game.
Yeah. Last 2 times he's faced the Niners, he's thrown 4 total interceptions, both times as a member of the Rams. So you only need 1 here. I like that play a lot. Number 1 PFF ranked defense in the NFL, San Francisco 49ers. Lawrence, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go staying on that Rams offense. I'm going to go under 40.5 receiving yards for Allen Robinson. You know, for one, he's averaging 29 receiving yards per game in these first 3 weeks. So that's where I'll start it at first. And if you average 29 and the over-under is 40.5, well, then I'm going to pick the under. He did have 53 receiving yards in week 2. He caught a 29-yard pass against the Falcons, and that, it boosted him up to 53. So you couple all of that in with the fact that, the over-under's at 42 right now. That's not a big number. When you get into receiver props, you want to see a number up towards 47, 48, something like that there, and even to tie it in with Kyle's bet, the over half interception for Stafford. Everything's just not clicking right. The one thing that's sure on this offense is Cooper Kupp. When in doubt, throw it to Cooper Kupp. He's going to eye him down. So it'll be tough, for Robinson to get that. Maybe he get another 30-yard reception. Cool. Then you might hit that. But I'd rather go under here based on what we've seen so far, and it ain't much.
Yeah, unless he's going to do that zigzag theory we talked about in our last show where it goes over, under. Raheem Mostert. He did it.
He did it.
I know. Trust me, it's in my phone. It's in my notes. I wrote it down. But Allen Robinson, if he goes over tonight, then this might be that situation too, because he's had 12 yards, 53 yards, and 23 yards in his 3 games with the Rams so far, exactly not living up to expectations. Well, if we're fading him, I will say the Rams offensive line is ranked 22nd in pass blocking this year per PFF. Not playing to the same level. Stafford's not getting the same time. So we're going up with another receiver, fitting another guy. Who's that, Kyle?
We've got Ben Skowronek. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right. It's not a player.
Skowronek.
It is Skowronek?
Skowronek, which is really close to another word, but go ahead.
Ben Skowronek, under 31.5 receiving yards. He's gone under twice in the past 3 games. He's been clearly the third receiver for this team. And for a team that runs a ton of 11 personnel, it's like 90+% of their plays. That's pretty good. But when you're on the field with Cooper Kupp, it doesn't always translate to production, given that he's going under 2/3 of the time so far. Last year, his role was even less, so it's not super relevant, but he was never even close, really. And they're using him as like a halftime wide receiver, halftime fullback. And maybe my math brain just can't, reconcile the fact that he maybe projects for more than this. But to me, a guy who is so useless as a receiver, you play him as a fullback. I want to bet unders on that guy.
Interesting thing about this guy, after week 2, another week in which Cam Akers went 15 carries, 44 yards. I did a video about all the terrible blocking that the Rams were doing specifically on his carries, and Ben Skowronek was one of the key blockers on one of those plays. They had him in line on the slot, and it was a horrible block. Like he went. Now, last week on Cam Akers' touchdown run, Skowronek was at fullback, and he made the key block for the touchdown. Right. It was a great block. So I don't know. This dude does, like you say, he got a weird role on his team. And I'm definitely riding with you on this under 31 because I mean, he just don't do that.
Yeah, like he just doesn't look like any other player that I want to bet overs on. I've never bet over, like I'm not betting overs on Kyle Juszczyk, right? So I'm not betting overs on Ben Skronik. He will be out there for a bunch of plays. I don't hate him as like a weird DFS long shot. I've played him in like back-to-back weeks too because he was always out there. And unsurprisingly, it's only worked once, and even then it was to the tune of like 9 PPR points. So I'm under on him, but it might just be my math brain not able to comprehend what he's doing. It's McVay just playing 3D chess, and I'm still here playing checkers.
I ain't even gonna lie. I picked him up in 2 leagues because I was scared that Chris Godwin wasn't gonna play, and I was gonna start. That was all that was out there. So, I'm glad I ain't had to do that, but we'll see how it go.
Yeah, 13 total targets on the year. My guy surprisingly has an 85.9% snap share, which is 30th of all receivers. That's way too high. That's how you know the Rams are a little bit in trouble at the wideout position. No Bob Woods, no Odell. You got Ben Skronik playing 86% of your snaps. Yikes. But yeah, still not getting catches or targets. So we'll take the under 31.5. That might have to go in our same game parlay tonight. That's my vote. But Lawrence, you got another one for us?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go over on Brandon Ayuk 54.5 receiving yards. And I'm banking strictly on the fact that I talked about it earlier. He's gotten 8 targets in each of the past 2 games, and one of those games he's turned it into 63 yards. Another game he's turned it into 39. I don't know what those 2 numbers average off the top of my head, but I like it, and I'll ride with that in a low scoring game when they're gonna need Debo to be playing a little more running back, especially if you got Tevin Coleman back there. You'll need Debo probably a little more in the run game. I look for Ayuk to at least get those type of targets. I'm banking strictly on the targets now. Last game he had 3 catches for 39 yards. That's why you will go under on this. The game prior to that he had 5 for 63. That's over, but it's still not, it doesn't build great confidence in that. But the fact that he averaging 47 a game this year, just give him the targets. He a playmaker. Let's see what he could do.
Yeah, another guy that's been on the field a ton. He's actually the 12th ranked wide receiver with snap share.
If Jimmy gonna hit that over in passing yards, somebody got to get that. Or maybe it's a George Kittle night.
Nah, we don't want to hear that. We don't want George Kittle to have a night tonight. Tight end king. Does George Kittle have a night?
I kind of like George Kittle have a night, dude. I just think, though, George Kittle is probably in contention for being like one of the 2 most talented tight ends in the NFL. Like, just when you look at his yards per route run, his yards after the catch, he's just been hyper elite throughout his career. And I get the Shanahan scheme has been great, but the quarterback play behind him has been nothing but average, right? I think we kind of come to this agreement that Jimmy Garoppolo is probably one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the world, and he's probably not one of the 20 best quarterbacks in the world. So to be dealing with that, which is fine but not great, and be able to put up like Travis Kelce level numbers, I love George Kittle. And the thing is, if I'm right, I'm going to be right by a mile because he's going to go 150 yards. And if I'm wrong, it's probably because he goes out and goes 3 for 40 or whatever. That's just the type of player he is. So maybe they keep him in line. They block more with him because he's also just a vicious blocker when he wants to be. But I kind of always like to be sort of in on George Kittle. Maybe this is sort of a DFS thing. I think you could probably apply it to betting too, though. Whenever the public's out on George Kittle, it's when I want to be in because it means he's had like 1 or 2 bad games in a row. And the guy just absolutely blows up without warning. So I kind of like George Kittle. Not as much tonight, just more of any time I don't think the public's on him.
Yeah, people were actually really big on him. At least some bettors that I know for the player prop markets were pretty big on him in his last game, his return. And I felt like you don't really want to bet overs on a guy in their first game back, but everyone couldn't wait to see George Kittle back in action. So I'd definitely be more tempted to bet him in this game, but I will pass. I locked in my bet a while ago in this game. We took the Niners money line and we took the 2.5. It's down to 1.5. So I don't care what you play. Niners getting the victory today. They're 5-1 ATS. 6-0 with Jimmy G under center during the regular season. Of course, they lost that playoff game. But if you guys remember that playoff game in particular, Odell Beckham and Cooper Kupp went crazy. I mean, the two of them had like 225 yards together, something like that. And then you look down the rest of the list. That was obviously the Kendall Bland game.
Of course.
I know, Kyle, I know you remember the Kendall Bland game. But 5 catches, 57 yards out of nowhere in that second half when Higbee got hurt. But other than that, you look at the rest of the players that stepped up in that game. Van Jefferson, 9 yards, 2 receptions, 5 targets. Cam Akers, 2 catches, 1 reception. Sony Michel, 1 reception, -4 yards. Our boy Ben Skowronek, 0 receptions, 1 target. They had 29 carries in that game, 70 yards on the ground. Other than Odell and Cooper Kupp and that defense making plays in the second half, that's the only way that the Rams really escaped that. I don't think they're a better team. Offensive line, worse.
They escaped it because Jaworski Tart dropped the interception that went right in his hands at the end of the game. Like that, like the Niners were going back to the Super Bowl with Jimmy G. If that dude catches that interception, it was a horrible throw.
And and I was on a show the other day. I won't say what it is, but I was on the show, and the gentleman says that he feels like Trey Lance is an upgrade over Jimmy G. And I mean, I know we saw a short sample, but I felt like I saw enough to know that's not true. And like you just said, Jimmy G took this team almost to the Super Bowl last year. And I just feel like the Niners are a better team right now. And they're coming off a loss. Jimmy G has been awesome off a loss in his career. 11-3 on the money line, 9-5 ATS. So I definitely am loving it tonight. And I'm also loving it because last night the public won with the Chiefs. But tonight, they're all over the Rams, baby. You know the public's not winning 2 primetime games in a row, Barnes and Kyle. Come on, my guys.
Now I see that. That's wild.
86% of the bets are on the Rams money line.
Well, it's because they got the Niners as slight favors. People thinking like, oh, I'm getting over. I'm getting run.
They didn't do good against the Broncos. They're like, oh, Jimmy G in this offense is terrible. That's not the case. It's not the case. They lost Trent Williams at a half. So, I mean, you're going to not be as good offensively once you lose your best offensive lineman. But we'll get back to some of these questions now. Do want to note out 94% of bets are on 94.5 over yards for Cooper Kupp. 93% of them on the over 8.5 receptions. Would you guys tail or fade those, or would you rather bet him to get in the end zone?
I'll never fade Cooper Kupp unless he give me a reason to do so. He didn't get the receiving volume last week, but we forgave him because all of a sudden he run a 4.3 40 when it comes to running jet sweeps into the end zone. So I ain't fading no Cooper Kupp. You can't even stop him. I don't know how this dude be open all the time. Like, no, I'm not ever fading. Nah.
Yeah, I couldn't fade Cooper Kupp. Like, I don't think I'd place a bet on any of his props just because they've been bet up so much already. But like, just because I'm not willing to bet the over certainly doesn't mean I'm betting under on what is like just undoubtedly based on like scheme fit with his quarterback production. He's like the best receiver in the NFL from a fantasy perspective, from a stats perspective, and it's honestly not that close.
Yeah, we got a lot of comments in here, so we're gonna run through a bunch of them right now. But this one, was my favorite one. Juszczyk first touchdown, because guess what, Max? Yeah.
Vaughn didn't make this up while he was reading comments either. He wasn't like, oh, let me put this in. I know this is on the show sheet as of like 3 hours ago or something.
Yeah. We're just throwing darts. I mean, that's all it is. We're going down to our local bar. We're getting a nice beer, a nice Bud Light, and then we're throwing a dart, and it lands right on Kyle Juszczyk for first touchdown score. That's what we're doing here. But Kyle loves it. Lawrence hates it. Can see it all over your face. I don't think
nothing of it. It could be. It could happen.
There's another one. He's the people's champ tonight. So yeah, I love to see it. We got all types of questions here. The MVP is the Niners defense. That is for sure. Kittle or Ayuk, can't be all three tonight. Talking about Debo as well. A lot of guys.
What if Jimmy G do what Tom Brady did last night?
Everyone dead silence, you know. Maybe he should, if Jimmy G can just throw for 300 whenever, maybe he should have done that in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, maybe.
There you go.
Rams defense or Niners defense tonight? Which one?
I mean, I would go with the Niners. They're the
I would
home
take
favorite
Niners.
team. They play a team that I think is perfect for like upside as far as defenses go. Because like even if Stafford gets there, throws for 303 touchdowns, like he's dropping back so many times, you've got good odds for sacks, interceptions, and sack fumbles. So even if like maybe you would say that you think the team with the higher ceiling is the team that has Stafford and Cooper Kupp, as far as the defense is concerned, I like facing the Rams better. And Vegas says they should win anyway. So that's really, I think, kind of the operative point is just take home favorite defenses. It's not that hard.
Better defensive line, better front seven as a whole.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, and I definitely think you have the safer quarterback in Jimmy G compared to a guy in Matthew Stafford who's going to try and let it rip, probably throw some turnovers. I like DFS Underground's comments here. Divisional game at home. I'm looking to San Francisco to play with more pace and competitiveness and a spark on offense in a positive direction. I totally agree. The public's going to look at what they did against the Broncos and think the Niners have nothing offensively, and that is not the truth. They have plenty of options. Our guy just said all three of the Niners can't eat tonight. Why not? We'll see. Russell Wilson without Javonte Williams. Next couple games, I mean, the Colts, Chargers, Jets, and Jaguars. Definitely buy into his stock player prop wise against the Jets and Jaguars, in my opinion. But what do you guys think about him moving forward? Where are you ranking him? Is he a top 10 QB, top 20?
You would never a top 10 QB for me.
He doesn't have his running back now. He might have to throw
in
more.
my preseason rank, I didn't have Russell Wilson as a top 10 quarterback. I certainly won't now, but Javonte Williams he won't. I don't think he affect Russell Wilson that much. Like he just gonna dump it off to a different guy now. That guy won't have as much explosiveness. He won't have as much jolt as Javonte Williams. None of those guys do. But you still got Judy and Cortland Sutton and KJ Hamler made a big play. You still have the option to never throw it to Albert O. Plenty of things he could do.
Never will happen. Dude, man, I can't believe I fell for such a foolish play in Albert O. I've been bamboozled too many times to count with Albert.
Hoodwink, like Stephen A. say. Hoodwink, bamboozle, led astray.
I like this question a lot. Big game coming up. Kirk Cousins taking on the Chicago Bears. They're laying 6.5. Then Geno Smith. Hey, I bought into the Seahawks +4 on that money line against the Lions. Seemed too easy. It wasn't too good to be true. They did, in fact, cover and cash. Geno Smith is that dog. But he's going against the Saints. Definitely a tough matchup. I want no parts of Geno Smith in fantasy against the Saints. And in betting standards, while the Saints did just do a lot of traveling, they have to come back now. They have lost 2 games in a row now, and that defense is going to be hitting. So I like the Saints a lot betting-wise this week. I may be on them, but that Saints defense is definitely going to be my stream of the week if I can get them.
Yeah, I like that call. I mean, credit to Geno. He's far exceeded my expectations. Right now, he leads the NFL in completion percent and completion percent over expected, meaning that even though he is like taking a lot of layups, a lot of like short stuff, he's so accurate on those that he's even doing more than you would expect. But I will say this Saints defense, it generated really good pressure against Kirk Cousins last week. I expect it to do the same against Geno Smith. I would take Cousins in a bounce back spot versus the Bears, though. Like, it's not to just credit Geno. He's proven me wrong. He looks like a pretty solid, like, top 20-ish NFL quarterback, which I would not have called him that a month ago. So good for him.
Geno,
I don't know who needs to say it, but every target that goes to Jalen Reagor is one target that needs to go to Justin Jefferson. I am so sick of it. You have Justin Jefferson. Don't even put Reagor on the field.
Right, you guys got to get it. Justin Jefferson got to get a breather sometime, man. He got to get a little breather.
Yeah, he does that when the final second ticks off. Don't let him until then.
Yeah. Kyle, this question is for you here.
It was about the Dynasty question from earlier. No, I don't think so. I think like in season long, the complexion of your team matters a lot more than Dynasty. In Dynasty, like I think it's a lot easier to just pinpoint who has long-term value or not and kind of let the positional needs sort themselves out as they are. For the most part, like the complexion of my team as far as like, oh, I actually have a few more good wide receivers typically doesn't play out, doesn't really affect my decisions that much.
I like that. Computer enthusiast coming up with another random comment here. Rihanna 2022 halftime show. Boy, can't wait to see it. That's my comments on it. Oh, she
What
will not
happened
be
to
pregnant,
Taylor
so that'll be a
Swift?
plus.
What
So
happened?
I
she's
don't know.
about to
I
toss out
think
her
I saw
baby to
Rihanna
ASAP.
post a picture of her holding a football or whatever. So
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Are they both doing it, or did Taylor Swift get the boot?
That would be awesome. That would be awesome if
that would be
ASAP
good.
came
Yeah.
out. The NFL's probably like, no, thank you. It was Rihanna only, but we'll see what happens here. Vikings at home. Yeah, too much firepower for Chicago. You see, guys saw Justin Fields player prop sitting at 145.5 yards last weekend. He did hit the over, but still, I mean, probably go under this week. All right, guys. First touchdown score, stardom, sit-ems, final 5 minutes. What you got?
I'm going with Cam Akers plus 450 for first touchdown scored. Should have had 2 last week. He fumbled at the goal line. If he has 2 last week, that might even be changing what we're talking about right now, to be, because that's what touchdowns do in fantasy, and especially in fantasy and betting. But that swing, that fumble, that +6, and now it's -2. Now you're not even really thinking about it. You just like, oh, 12 carries, 60 yards, 1 touchdown. Give me Cam Akers to score. Other than Cooper Kupp scoring, that's the guy I would choose.
Like that? What you got, Kyle?
It's a player I don't like at this point, at least. It's Allen Robinson. Former friend of the show, current enemy of the show, Allen Robinson, but plus 1,300 for a dude who he leads the Rams in targets in the end zone. He is tied with Cooper Kupp for targets in the red zone. It's not a spot they're throwing to Ben Skowronek. It's not a spot they're throwing to their running backs. It's a little bit of Higbee and then a ton of Kupp and Robinson. Even if we don't get Allen Robinson going over his prop, which would not surprise anyone. Honestly, he could still score twice. We almost saw that, I believe, last week as well, as he was either a penalty or like stepped out or something ruled out for what would have been a second touchdown of the day. So I like Allen Robinson to score, and that's the only thing I like him to do, to be very clear.
Wait, that's really plus 1,300? Wow.
I mean, he's as much outside of the talent discrepancy between him and Cooper Kupp, which is massive. His usage shows that he should be scoring almost as much as in terms of the red zone and the end zone looks.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's some places have a 1,300, some places have 1,200. So yeah, they're really not believing in him. They have the same odds for Ayuk to score the first touchdown. Barely better odds than Higbee, Henderson, and our boy Skowronek. So very interesting here. Like I said, I'm just throwing a dart here, taking Kyle Juszczyk. We're trying to target fullbacks, tight ends, anybody that shouldn't score the first touchdown. That's the guy that's probably going to score it. But my long shot, though, I do think Devo has a good matchup here. He's had success against the Rams. They're going to try and feed him the ball a couple of times, more than a couple of times, but feed him the ball in some unique areas, trying to get him the ball in space. So 100 plus receiving yards is plus 450. That would probably be my long shot of the night. Lawrence, what's your long shot?
I'm staying with Cam Akers. Give me 75 rushing yards at plus 375. Had 44 in week 2, 61 in week 3. That pattern tells me he due for 75 at plus 375.
And he's your stardom as well, right? So just get that out the way.
Yeah. I couldn't get the because I like all the stardoms that Kyle got, so I had to like really squeeze out the orange here. I'm going Cam Akers. I'm gonna sit Daryl Henderson, and then I got Cooper Kupp most fantasy points because Cooper Kupp get the most fantasy points in every game you play.
Yep, and Kyle, you riding that same train? Who's your stardom and sit-ems?
Yeah, I can't get like weird, and it's Cooper Kupp. He's the best fantasy player in the NFL right now. I'm not going to call anyone else to do it until I see it. I actually have I have sit-em, Brandon Ayuk, and stardom. Doesn't feel Jeff Wilson. Like, I get that he's not the most exciting, talented player, but the role is great. The role is great on a team that's a home favorite that has consistently produced good running backs out of anyone out of thin air, right? Raheem Mostert leading the Dolphins right now. The only reason he got that job is because he was like a practice squad level player that as soon as he steps on the field for the 49ers looks like Bo Jackson. So to me, I want to buy any guy getting 15 plus touches on this team. And the only reason I said sit Ayuk is because I kind of like Allen Robinson over him, especially with the touchdown production. So if I have to take one of those, like, you know, you're mostly locked into what you're doing tonight. It's Monday night, but I'll go Allen Robinson, and I'm betting on this touchdown, and that's it.
All right, in our final minute here, the same game parlay. Those who are watching at the final minute gets our picks, guys. One leg of the parlay. I think I'm going Jimmy G. 225 plus passing yards. It's going to be my leg.
Can I get Stafford over the half interception? I love that bet tonight.
Unfortunately, you can't do interceptions on these. The books say it's too easy for you guys.
What else can we get? Can we get a Jeff Wilson over in this?
Yeah.
All right, let's roll with I like that call from Lawrence on the Jeff Wilson optimism and my stardom optimism. So Jeff Wilson over his rushing yards.
Give me Cam Akers 45.5 rushing and receiving. Give me the over on that.
Oh my gosh. All right. So you said Cam Akers?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's low actually. That is really low.
45.5 rushing and receiving.
Yeah. So that's going to be about 484 odds it's looking like with the player props. So, all right, Jimmy G over 225.5 passing yards, Cam Akers over 40.5 total yards, and then the final one was Jeff Wilson over 53.5 rushing yards.
It should be 45.5.
It's moved up. Should we do 50 plus?
Wait, what is it?
Jeff Wilson's now is 53.5. So people are buying into him. Should we do the alternative line of 50 plus rushing yards?
Well, you saying Jeff Wilson? Who's it for Cam? What is it for Cam Akers?
48.5.
Yeah, I still roll with that.
All right, let's do it. All right, people. That's the same game parlay. Cam Akers, Jeff Wilson, and Jimmy G. I love to see it. All right, make sure you guys subscribe, like this video. Lawrence Jackson, Lord Don't Lose on Twitter. Kyle Dvorchak, Kyle tweets here. Vaughn Dalzell at V Money Sports. Thanks for watching, everybody. Get your lineups, your waivers set. Rams, Niners, 15 minutes. Best of luck. We'll see you guys for Colts and Broncos on Thursday. See you there.